Welcome everyone, Stock Market Technical Analysis. So I'm going to start out this morning going through the general markets, and then we'll go through some of these trade ideas. One of my subscribers asked me to cover some of my the recent trade ideas that I've gone through and give an update on those. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll start out here with the Qs. Leave me a thumbs up, guys. I do really appreciate that. It does help the channel. All right, Qs. Still looks like it wants to backtest this downward trend line, right? Or this upward trend line from the March 2020 lows. There's your trend line right there. And we broke. We have a sell signal. That is a sell signal right there. So to me, it's a sell the rip market. But I think we could go a little higher. You know, we could run up. And I'm still maybe even anticipating an all-time new high. All right, maybe we bounce up, hit this trend line right here, make a slightly new high, and that would be your full back test. And that would also be a very objective area to short. It looks like the market still wants to do that. But again, you know, we'll have to just watch the price action. Looking at the hour, or going back to the daily, and then we'll flip to the hourly. We still have negative divergence. That's in play. You know, right here, we just made a divergent high. I have it circled on the daily chart. And we then broke our trend line support. So this is still on a sell signal. Everything that I see in the chart tells me we're still going lower. We're just getting what looks to be that kind of counter trend bounce. When you first get a sell signal, oftentimes you'll see a counter trend bounce, which is usually designed to really shake out anybody who took the short on that sell signal. And then they dump it after this counter trend bounce. So that's what I see. I'm looking for, but again, that full back test and that all-time new high would be a very clean area to add to a short or take a new short, in my opinion. All right, let's look at the SPY here. And SPY, again, this is also on a sell signal. You can see here's your uptrend line off the March 2020 lows on this daily chart here. And we broke trend. There's your sell signal. We did we're just doing back testing, basically. Back test once, back test twice. Still trading below trend. All right. So up here in this area is objective to short. The one thing we're watching, though, is that XLF. So that one is, that's really, I think, the key to the SPY right now. And you can see it's just barely hanging on to this trend line. Here's the XLF on the daily chart. We have negative divergence on the PPO and the RSI telling us that we're likely going to get a trend line break, but we got to see that. And you can see the last couple of days we've just barely been grinding higher along that trend line. Look at today. I mean, this might go tomorrow or maybe next week, but it's just barely hanging on to that trend line. There's just not a lot of buyers left. So I think we're going to break soon. But again, we got to wait for the breakdown or the sell signal. A nice impulsive break of this trend line is what we're looking for. We get that, SPY is likely going to go, and the Qs is likely going to go. So we could try to water for a little bit longer. Let's look at the IWM, also on a sell signal. Here's coming off your March 2020 lows. And you can see just nice, clean support on this trend line. We broke. There's a nice, clean sell signal and a series of back tests. So again, we could run up and do a back test again. We could grind higher for a little while and even make an all-time new high. This one, I'm really watching the XLF. The IWM is loaded with banks, so you can watch the XLF or the BXK, I believe is what it is. I did put it into my financial chart. If I could find it, my sectors, sorry. BKX, all right, that's your banks. So there's BKX, very similar to XLF, but you can watch that one as well. Negative divergence on this guy, and you can see that we're just walking this trend line, treading water. So again, waiting for that sell signal. And I see that in my financials like Ally, they're just barely hanging on to that trend line there. We're just waiting for that breakdown, that sell signal. We don't have it yet. And same with Wells Fargo. You can see today just barely hanging on to that trend line. All right, so those are trade setups for their short setups to sell off. But we don't have the sell signal yet. Okay, and then here's some of the short trades that I have on right now. So I want to go through some of those. Let's start off with Toll Brothers because I think that's the most actionable right now. So here's Toll Brothers, and you can see coming off your March 2020 lows, we basically had this nice clean upward trend. At the top of the trend, we made a divergent high, and then we broke trend. Here's your high. You can see momentum was diverging lower. So we have a divergent high. We broke trend. We have a sell signal. They're backtesting again today. So they backtested initially, sold it off, and then they're coming up and backtesting it. Looking at the hourly, you can see that's a perfect tag of that trend line. I added to my short this on that trend line tag. All right, so that's how I trade it. You know, we've got a sell signal. It's a sell the rip chart because we have broken support. So any kind of rip into resistance is an area to either take a short position or add, and that's what I did. I added to the short position. Again, I'm looking for this to sell off pretty much down to this $50 area, and likely going to get rejected in the soon. If not today, maybe tomorrow. It could tread water in this area for a couple days. Here's another one that could be a sell signal. It's not as impulsive as selling as I would have liked to seen. But here's on the daily chart, Mosaic, MOS. You can see nice clean uptrend line right there. Negative divergence that we have in place. And we did get a break of the trend line yesterday. So it wasn't super impulsive and not a huge breakdown, but good enough where I'd say it looks like a sell signal. I'm looking for some more follow through though. I'd like to see some more selling show up today. If we get that, I think we're going to consider that a sell signal. First level support about 29.37, and from where we're at right now, it's a drop of about 15% or so. Okay, BYD, you can see Boyd Gaming looks like they're trying to do some sort of backtest move. So this broke trendline support. I'm going to just stick with this trade. I'm going to just ride it out. The chart looks really good. I think we're going lower. But here's your nice clean uptrend line on Boyd. Broke trend right there. And when we broke trend, we had negative divergence. So there's your divergent high. See, there's negative divergence. And we broke trend. Again, I teach all these concepts in my course. So if you guys are new or if you haven't taken the course yet, go ahead and take that course. It's not free, but it's not that expensive. I price it at $99. Link in the description below. It's about 5 or 6 hours of training. And it goes through all these concepts and more in a lot more detail. These videos will be supplemental to your knowledge base once you take that course. So this Boyd looks like it wants to back test. All right. So I don't know if we're going to get all the way up here, but it might make a move towards there and kind of chop around a little bit. I still think whether it goes up, I like this to go down. And that's the thing. I don't know how far it's going to go up or even if it's going to back test. It could fail here today. So I don't want to be long this thing because the major pattern, the bigger picture has broke support and it's bearish. All right. Negative divergence, broke support. I'm looking for a downtrending stock. And whether it bounces and then sells off over the bigger term, I'm looking for a downtrend. So level of support on that one, 55.30. Then we got 50, 85 or so, and then one down at 43.60. Again, those levels aren't exact. So if you're looking to if you're looking to trade those levels, you'll want to step in a little early on some of those. All right, Winnebago. Again, same thing. Broken trend line. Here's your March 2020 lows. Upward trend. We had a divergent high. Actually, this one didn't make a divergent high, to be honest. It just started downtrending in momentum, but there was no negative divergence. But we broke trend. Nice clean sell signal. Looks like they're bouncing it up to resistance right up there. So you sell, that's how this works. You come down a leg, you bounce a little. You go down for the next leg, you bounce a little. So I'm just going to ride this down. I'm really looking for, probably about 61 or so on this one. I don't know why that's throwing an alert. Starbucks. All right, back testing broken support. So here's kind of the March 2020 low area. You can see nice clean up trend line here. We had a breakdown or a sell signal. No real follow through so far. So this one's questionable. But we are back testing. They could recover the trend line. If they recover it and start to hold, then I'll stop out of this. Otherwise, I'm looking for it to reject right in this area. So looking for a rejection, looking for Starbucks to, really start to sell down. I still like it. You know, this had a divergent high, so there's your high right there. And see the negative divergence, how we're just dropping off in momentum. And there's your high. Broke trend. Looking for follow through though. No follow through yet. So something to look for. And then here is Deere and Company. This one is getting follow through. Still kind of chopping sideways, but a little follow through today. So here is your uptrend line. I talked about this one for a while. There's your divergent high. So you made a new high with negative divergence. When you see that, you can wait for a break of the trend line support. There's your break. There's your breakdown, basically. Impulsive break, kind of a back test, another rejection, gap down. So, you know, so that gap trapped all this money right here. Let me kind of circle it. All this bullish money. Anybody that was long all through here for months, basically, got trapped on this gap down. Now, they did get an opportunity potentially to, you know, get out a little bit right here, but that was pretty quick. That was a fleeting upward price action, and now we're starting to roll over some more. Still kind of chopping sideways. We got support right about here at about 353.20. Once that goes, I think this is a pretty swift move down to, you know, right about 317.50. And you know, if we and then the 200-day, we break that, we're heading down to 266.76. All right, so those are the levels on that one. Snap. All right, Snap's at resistance. They're popping above it a little bit, but this isn't impulsive. All right, a breakout. You know, the reason why I don't really get spooked out of a short trade when I see this kind of price action, you have this downward trend line right here. They're popping it above. Not impulsive though. You can see here, this hourly candle just barely made it above. They're just, you know, it's just barely able to hang out above there. Looks like a stop raid. That's what it looks like. So they pop it above. The weak-handed shorts see that as a breakout and they bail, and then they sell it down. And they've been here for a couple days. You can see 1, 2. This is the third day, and this is not a breakout of anything I'd be concerned of. So, going to continue to stay short on this one. Again, negative divergence. The big negative divergence that it really just was building for quite some time on the RSI and the PPO, and we broke trendline support. We're downtrending now. Everything tells me that this is starting a downtrend and it will continue. We're looking for, you know, a rejection in this area, and then ultimately, you know, we haven't even tagged the 200-day moving average yet. I suspect we sell off this next, you know, if this is going to sell off in this area, I suspect we're going to head straight down to that 200, probably undercut it and head down to about 43, 44 or so, which would be this lower trend line right down here. I suspect we're going to roll over and run down and hit the bottom of that. And DraftKings, its objective to short here. I took a short yesterday, and it's basically tagging the trendline resistance again. Here's your daily chart right there. So you've got a nice clean uptrend line right there, several reactions. We put in a head and shoulders top as well. On this, I have it marked out. Now you did see the breakdown. You know, there was a breakdown there, but we also broke that trendline support. We had negative divergence, so this was all divergent high price action up in here, and we broke trendline support. We're coming in for a back test of that broken trend line. So we tested it yesterday, testing it again today. No breakouts, no, now they could pop it a little bit, and the 200 days right there above it. So I'm almost expecting maybe they pop it, run up, hit the 200, then reject intraday and come back down. But I am expecting it to reject in this area and then head lower. You know, I'm looking next up on DraftKings. I'm really looking for 35, about 35.50 as a level of support, and probably, cover the trade down there. But I like it still, and I'm short this. Okay, so those are the interesting, trade ideas that I'm really watching because they're at key levels. The rest of them, if I've said I've been short, I'm likely still short. Still short Carvana, still short Tesla, still short NEO. One I want to look at. I'm not short this, but I might, SQ. So I'm looking to re-short this thing. We'll cover this real quick. So this one has an uptrend line right there, SQ. There's your divergent high right there. And this This basically made an equal high, so this was really another divergent high right in here, kind of a double top. And then you have negative divergence, so you wait for a break of trendline support. There's your break. There, we broke. Now we're coming back in for a back test of that broken trend line. I'm looking to reshort this thing up here a little bit higher. I'd like to get it, I'd like to get a tag of that trend line. That's usually what I wait for. But, I step in a little early because you never know if the sellers are going to step in early. But I like maybe a little bit closer on that one. Let's see how many more percentage points to go. If it does it today and they just keep ramping it all day, it's another 2% up there to a back test to that trend line. So we'll let it run, see how it goes. Maybe they get it close, and I'll step in and reshort the thing. And then I'm looking for a move down to, at this point, I'd be looking for a move down to about 170.50 and then potentially down to 135.06. All right. And, if things get really bad, you've got major support down here at 84. That's a ways down there. That's really hard to say we're going to get all the way down there. The further away a profit target, the less probable it is of hitting it. So what I like to do is really shoot for the high probability targets, take profit, maybe look to reshort the thing if you get another sell signal. But I do look to take profit on those high probability targets. Right now I see this one, 170, about 170.30, 170.50. All right, now going back to soybeans, these commodities, corn and stuff, they're coming in and they're getting down to where I was talking about. I'm interested in buying it. I bought soybeans this morning. We'll see how it goes. There's a couple things I don't like about it, but I am expecting a bounce. And so far this morning, there has been a bounce. Basically, you've got this upward trend line right here. And we were coming down. If I zoom in on the daily, you can see we sold off and came right down to it, hit it perfectly. So I bought soybeans there, looking for a bounce, probably up to about 23.50 or so. 23. It's really about 23.38 level. If you go to the hourly, you can kind of see that's where it held resistance right there. So I'm looking for a bounce up to there, and we'll see. One thing I don't like about it, it's not my favorite, is that you've got some negative divergence right there on the daily chart. So we might just get a little bounce and then break trend. All right, there might be a break of trend, and maybe we're going a little bit lower on soybeans. So don't get married to it. That's the name of the game. And then corn is coming in too. So here's the trend line that I've got on corn, and we've got a little more to go. But down here was my buy area. So I'm looking at that on the daily chart for trendline support. And then wheat as well. You can see here's the trend line on wheat, and I'm looking for wheat to kind of come in a little bit more, see if I can get it down a little closer to that trend line. All right, guys, that's all I got for today, or at least this morning. If anything crazy happens, I'll put out a video at the end of the day. Check out the course, leave a thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.